welcome. I'm John Reed, faculty here in the Creative Writing Program and the director of the Creative Writing Program at the New School, which is home to the Writing and Democracy Undergraduate Honors and MFA in Creative Writing. Years ago, I was on the stage as a board member of the NBCC. It's my privilege tonight to take a moment to thank the NBCC and to thank our authors and to thank you for joining us at this year's National Book Critics Circles Awards. The New School and the NBCC have a long-standing relationship going back to the very earliest years of the NBCC. Our faculty and alums have been board members and award recipients, and our communities have worked together in classrooms and publications and events since before the memory of anyone present this evening. The annual awards have been hosted at the New School for over 20 years. The cultural lore of creative writing cites the New School as having offered the first academic creative writing workshop in 1931. A few years ago, I worked on a book about the New School and discovered that the course that was to become the first workshop was originally offered in 1927. It was a 4-year evolution before the class became what we would recognize today as a creative writing workshop. Here in the MFA program, we are still evolving the workshop, much as literature and the arts are still evolving, always evolving. Part of what it is to be a writer or an artist or an activist is to constantly contend with shortcomings, the shortcomings of the world, of the medium, what the medium can do, can change, and the shortcomings we find within ourselves. Having been a board member, I understand that the task taken on by the NBCC is, of course, impossible, which is why we should be so grateful for the lavish labor, the grand heart, and the even grander dedication of the NBCC, its board, and its members. Thanking our team at TNS at the New School for bringing us this evening, Lori Lynn Turner, Anu Pandy, Maria Schmidt, Bronte Heron, Camilla Ferrero, Kate Tooley, Bianca Lamini, Timmy Lewis, Dean Mary Watson. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but thank you. And the NBCC, in addition to the board, thank you to Keche Coopers, VP of Awards, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Jane Shirbatari, VP of Events, Jared Drake of Willbound, and I will cede the floor now to President Heather Scott Partington.
Hello, I'm Heather Scott Partington. It's my honor to welcome you to the NBCC Awards for Publishing Year 2023. Thank you to those of you who are joining us in person, and to those of you watching via our first ever live stream of the NBCC Awards, brought to you by our partner Wildbound Live. Thank you, John Reed, for the introduction, and thank you to our generous hosts and longtime partners, the New School. Special thanks to Lori Lynn Turner, Associate Director for the New School Creative Writing Program, and Kate Tooley, Associate Director for the School of Public Engagement. Tonight, the NBCC marks the beginning of a special year. In 1974, 50 years ago, at the Algonquin Hotel, John Leonard, Nona Balakian, and Ivan Sandroff gathered and founded the National Book Critics Circle, an organization that Ivan Sandroff Lifetime Achievement Award winner Toni Morrison would eventually dub a wild faculty. We still are. Founded upon the principle of honoring outstanding writing and fostering a national conversation about literature, the NBCC Awards are the only national awards given by the critics themselves. We look forward to celebrating our 50th anniversary with you in a series of regional events and online celebrations over the coming year. Congratulations to the NBCC finalists for the awards in autobiography, biography, criticism, fiction, poetry, and nonfiction. Congratulations to the finalists for the Gregg Barrios Book in Translation Prize and the John Leonard Prize for Best First Book. Congratulations to Becca Rothfeld, winner of the Balakian Citation for Excellence in Reviewing. Congratulations to NBCC Service Award winner, Marion Winnick. Congratulations to the American Library Association, the winner of the Toni Morrison Lifetime Achievement Award. And congratulations to Ivan Sandroff Life Achievement Award winner, Judy Bloom, who joins us virtually. Welcome. I'd like to invite each of our finalists and winners who are present to please stand or wave so we may celebrate you with a round of applause. The remarkable work of these finalists and winners runs the gamut from groundbreaking to whimsical. It includes essential discoveries, incisive criticism, ingenious verse, and compelling narrative. Thank each of you for the countless hours you spend alone in the dark, putting words to the ineffable, making art when there's every reason not to. We celebrate your imagination, your fearlessness, and your persistence. Your words are essential, particularly in this time of division and censorship. Hearing you read aloud last night at our first in-person finalist reading since 2019 was such a pleasure. Special thanks to last night's MC, board member David Wu. Thank you to our membership of more than 700 critics for another year of vital criticism, for pushing the bounds of the form and elevating critical art, for using your words to question, to complicate, and to connect. Thank you also to the hardworking members of our member-driven award committees, the Barrios and the Leonard, for your hours of reading and deliberation. I'd also like to recognize a special group of our members, our 7th cohort of NBCC Emerging Critics Fellows. The Emerging Critics Fellowship was founded in 2017 to nurture and develop the next generation of critics. As a former NBCC Emerging Critic, I'm particularly proud to recognize this group. Janessa Abrams, Hannah Bonner, Taylor Bias, Isabella Corletto, Noelle McManus, Michelle Moses, Tomi Onabanjo, Gasira Tamir, Olga Zolotareva, and Hanshin Zong. The NBCC is thrilled, yes. The NBCC is thrilled to celebrate your achievement and to be a part of your future. The NBCC is run by an all-volunteer 22-member board with no staff. This morning, that board met to deliberate in a conference room here at the new school. We did not leave that room until we decided the winners of all of these awards, 5 hours later. I always say that it's our job to disagree with each other, and we're so good at it. But the beauty of this process, and the books that rise from it, is that each finalist and each winner represents a work that excels on many levels, a work that energizes an eclectic group of divergent thinkers. Our deliberations today, as during the past year, were rigorous and thoughtful. Thank you to the NBCC board for your dedication and critical perspective. I'm honored to work with you. Special appreciation and recognition to our board members who are cycling off the board after this year's award ceremony. Anita Felicelli, Chelsea Liu, Keisha Kuipers, Jenny Hahn, Maris Kreitzman, and Joanna Skutz. Each of you has been an invaluable part of the NBCC, and we are better for having served with you. Special thanks to VP of Awards Keisha Kuipers and Awards Deputy Lauren LeBlanc for their work planning every detail of yesterday's reading, tonight's ceremony, and our reception. Our appreciation also to Martin Childs, Jim Kaplan, Amelie Walker-Young, Jared Drake, Katie Freeman, and the community of literary magazines and presses for their support of the NBCC. Let me also take a moment to express the National Book Critics Circle's gratitude to the major donors of our fall fundraiser. Their donations, and yours, allow us to fund our prizes, to put on events like this evening's festivities, and to imagine a more expansive future for the NBCC. Thank you, Vijay and Shanta Mohan, Douglas Winter, Marie Arana, Broadside PR, Kitty Kelly, and the Hearst Foundation and Alta Journal. Thank you to every single person in this room whose work helped to create these finalist books. Thank you to every publisher, librarian, teacher, bookseller, and citizen who continues to put books in hands. Thank you, readers. Thank you, poets, journalists, translators, and authors for your truth. We celebrate each of you tonight. And now it's my pleasure to introduce this year's VP of Awards, Keitcha Kuipers.
Hello, I'm Keitcha Kuipers, a board member at the NBCC, and as you all know, this year's VP of Awards. It has been my absolute privilege to be responsible for planning this year's events in celebration of the National Book Critics Circle Awards. This has been a real undertaking for me. My wife would probably tell you that she's never seen me quite this stressed out before, and she's going to be really happy to see me again tomorrow morning with this behind me. But getting to work with all of the incredible people who made tonight possible has truly brought new meaning for me to the phrase literary citizenship. In addition to all of the folks who Heather thanked already, who I have a great gratitude for in my own heart, I need to acknowledge my fellow board member, Joe Livingstone, who managed to procure an incredible collection of food and drinks for our post-ceremony reception tonight. If you flip, yes, please. If you flip over your program, you'll see our partners' names listed there, with special thanks to our caterer, Purslane. I also want to shout out our bookseller, P&T Knitwear, who hauled all of the finalists' marvelous books here from their store and are ready to sell them to you just as soon as the ceremony wraps up. So, out there, don't forget. With that in mind, I am anxious to move us as quickly as possible to the announcement of tonight's winners. But before we get to that very exciting part of our evening, I want to give a land acknowledgement. Land acknowledgements can sometimes feel like a formality. However, while it is formal, and that is a formal showing of respect, there's nothing rote about taking the time to acknowledge whose land we occupy. Tonight, we are gathered on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Lenape people, and I thank you for joining me in acknowledging with respect all Lenape elders, past and present, as well as the future generations of Indigenous peoples everywhere. It is not possible to mark this one occupation without also acknowledging the continued genocide unfolding in Palestine. Adrienne Rich, who was an NBCC 3-time finalist and 2004 award winner, understood this well. Her poem Dedications, which is the 13th and final section of her book, An Atlas of the Difficult World, was completed in 1991 during the midst of the First Intifada. Poet Jane Hirschfield, who has been a finalist for an NBCC award as well, has written of this poem that it exemplifies the definition of liberation as connection with not only the like, but the unlike. The same contract is at the core of any genuinely democratic self-governance and at the core of a working literature, a working relationship, a working compassion. Ultimately, it enacts and expands our sense of what and who we might mean when we say the word we. As writers, we are always here to say we, to do the work of expanding compassion on the page and in the world, and that we includes the Palestinian people. Let it be what we say and do tonight as we gather together to celebrate the power of words. And now, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the stage our first presenter tonight, longtime board member and Balakian Committee Chair, Colette Bancroft.
Good evening. My name is Colette Bancroft, and I'm the chairperson of the Balakian Committee and VP Secretary of the NBCC. Tonight, I'm delighted to announce the 2023 winner of the Nona Balakian Citation for Excellence in Reviewing. Each year, the Balakian Citation honors one of our own NBCC members for outstanding published reviews. This year's winner, Becca Rothfeld, was chosen from a group of 5 accomplished finalists, which also included Rhoda Fung, Christoph Irmscher, Sophie Pinkham, and Audrey Wallen. Rothfeld's entry, consisting of her reviews for the Washington Post of Benjamin Labich's brainy novel The Maniac and Senator Josh Hawley's self-help book Manhood, dazzled the judges with depth, range, humor, and elegant writing. And there's more of that to come in her book, All Things Are Too Small, Essays in Praise of Excess, publishing April 2nd. Please join me in congratulating Becca Rothfeld on her win as we welcome her to the stage.
Thank you. I believe it is customary to start a speech like this with thank yous, and I have a long list of people and animals to thank. It features my husband, Zach, my dog, Kafka, my colleagues at The Point, the Boston Review, and the Washington Post, the discerning judges who awarded me this prize, my friends, and my nemesis, at least one of whom is present here tonight. But above all, I'd like to thank the many generous editors I've worked with over the years. I owe this award as much to my editor at the Post, John Williams, as I do to my own talents. He regularly saves me from my worst instincts. He even edited this speech. Thank you, John. Working with him, I have frequent occasion to remember that a writer is only as good as her editors, that even though writing is often cast as a solitary endeavor, it isn't really, and criticism is the least solitary genre of all. No essay or book is ever sui generis, but criticism does not even pretend to be. It is openly collaborative. At a minimum, a review is a duet with the book under consideration. Criticism, then, dramatizes what is always true, but often hidden. It demonstrates by way of example not only that writing is social, but also that reading is. We have a tendency to think of aesthetic judgment as a one-off exchange between a neatly isolated dyad, a person and a book. This way of thinking dates back to the 1700s, when it was popularized by Kant, the winner of last year's Nona Balakian Prize. Kant is a giant, but as much as I love wrestling with him, he is responsible for a great misperception about aesthetic experience. Reading isn't just what happens when you sit alone with a book. It's also what happens afterwards, when you turn a passage over and over in your mind, or quote it to a friend, or ask someone else who read the book what she thinks of it. In other words, you haven't really read something until you've argued about it with everyone you know, until you've effused about it to a stranger just trying to enjoy his drink in peace at the bar. You haven't read a book or seen a painting or watched a movie until you've digested it in the company of others. Sheila Heti writes in her most recent novel, Pure Color, art is what humans do. I think that if art is what humans do, then criticism is what humans do to art. It may seem silly to do either art or criticism in these unfortunate times, when the political climate is so fraught and the literal climate is so blistering. Perhaps the ongoing and oppressive awfulness of everything is one explanation for the crisis of the humanities, or so commentators often speculate. How are writers improving the environment, or fighting fascism, or really changing anything at all? My husband recently noted that I would not be particularly helpful during an apocalyptic event, and all I could say in response was that at least I could write a scathing review of it. Maybe all that a critic can do during a war or a plague is continue to practice criticism. But I have no doubt that criticism in some form will survive. We need it too much, whether or not it has any political or environmental utility, whether or not it averts disaster. Art is what humans do and cannot stop doing, and they do it by parsing beauty and ugliness together. How could we ever put an end to this conversation that we are all a part of by dint of participating in the human project? The question is not why we should read or why we should write criticism, but how could we not? Thank you.
I was going to get it and hold it for you, don't worry.
Hello. I'm Megan Labrise, past president and chair of this year's Service Award Committee. I have the great honor of briefly introducing this year's winner, Marion Winnick. The Service Award is given to an individual whose work transformed the NBCC. We are all volunteers, but this is an award for exceptional service. And in the case of Marion Winnick, it's for exceptional service by a remarkable critic at a critical time in the organization's history. I want you to know that Marion is the author of 11 books, including First Comes Love, The Big Book of the Dead, and Above Us Only Sky. You might recognize her voice from NPR's All Things Considered, or the Weekly Reader podcast she currently hosts on WYPR. She frequently reviews for Kirkus Reviews, Oprah Daily, People Magazine, just to name a few, and I always await her verdict. She teaches at the University of Baltimore. She writes a monthly column at Baltimore Fishbowl, and her life is rich in friends, family, colleagues, neighbors, pen pals, pets. If all of that sounds like a lot, it is, because quantity and quality is the Winnick way. Quantity and quality distinguished Marion's service on the NBCC board from 2016 to 2022. To have anything worth a damn to say about a book, you have to read with care. And Marion is not just a crackerjack critic. She also knows how to read the needs of an organization. She has read and reread the NBCC like a treasured tale. To this day, she is helping to revise it. Formidable administrator, egalitarian reading committee chair, esteemed treasurer, munificent mentor, stylish master of ceremonies. She does it all with aplomb. When the organization was in crisis in 2020, she did everything in her considerable power to help save it. Had she not taken a leadership role in diversifying and reconstituting the board at that time, we might not be here tonight. Thank you, Marion. We think that qualifies as extraordinary service. If you do too, I hope you'll tell her later tonight, and I hope you'll show her right now. Please join us in saluting Service Award winner Marion Winnick.
Thank you. Oh, the award. Greetings, literary citizens. This past weekend, I was at a Kundalini yoga class in Baltimore, where the teacher described the spring now blooming all around us as the end of a winter that started 4 years ago. I'd like to bring that thought into this room as we celebrate the end of a winter that started for me right on this spot in March 2020, when the new school closed and the readings and awards were canceled, and the last live NBCC book deliberations were held in a little room near Lori Lynn Turner's office until the security guards kicked us out. That summer, the death of George Floyd jump-started a nationwide soul-searching about racism that resulted in something like an earthquake for progressive and primarily white institutions. The NBCC was among them. Without rehashing the details, 15 board members, including my dear friend, President Lori Herzl, resigned. 9 of us were left, only 2 officers, me and Richard Sanchez. According to the bylaws, this was illegal, and I, as treasurer, was compelled to donate our assets to another nonprofit and dissolve the organization. To make a long story short, it took a lot of phone calls, legal consultations, backroom drama, and the support of key board members like Jane Chabatari, who bravely became acting president of the bloodied organization, and David Varno, who took over as president of the reconstituted group. But the NBCC struggled forward and found our way back. I was term limited off the board 2 years later, but by this time was so embroiled in the deep state of the organization that I've been a little involved ever since, now jokingly known as the treasurer in exile, with apologies to the real treasurer, my pal Jacob Appel. As many know, my address in Baltimore is the so-called corporate headquarters. As the daughter of the longtime treasurer of the Garden State Women's Golf Association, and the sister of the former president of the Rockland County Business Women's Network, I feel this is only right. I've often thought that saving the NBCC, which is really what we all did that summer, might be the most consequential act of my puny little self-absorbed life. Just as becoming a book critic turned my focus from my own writing to the work of my peers, my involvement in the NBCC allowed me to participate in a national and even international conversation about literary culture and the culture of great books, which is honestly the only religion I have. Lori Muchnick and Tom Beer, both past presidents of this organization, get the credit and the blame for my presence here. I would also like to thank Megan Labrise, Heather Scott Partington, and all the current board members for honoring me in this way. Long live the NBCC, and peace in the Middle East.
Thank you for that. That was beautiful. Hi, I'm Adam Delva, and I'm the chair of the John Leonard Prize for Best First Book. As you might be noticing, things look a little bit different for the Leonard this year. The prize was redesigned to reflect the diverse array of genres that the NBCC considers. And the result, and I swear I'm not just saying this, is 6 fantastic books that are worthy of your time. The Leonard Prize was judged, as it is every year, by a volunteer committee of 40 NBCC members, and they spent the last 2 months doing what book critics love most. We argued on Slack. That was it. I want to thank them for their hard and generous work. Some of them are in the room tonight, and I appreciate your work. Each of these finalists expanded our world, taught us something new, and moved us, and they are Ariana Benson's Black Pastoral from the University of Georgia Press. I love that book. Emily Boone's A Nimble Arc, James Vander Zee and Photography from Duke University Press. Victor Heringer and translator James Young for The Love of Singular Men from New Directions. Tahir Hamad Izgul, translated by Joshua L. Freeman, for Waiting to be Arrested at Night, a Uyghur poet's memoir of China's genocide, Penguin. Donovan X. Ramsey for When Crack Was King, One World. And Martin J. Siegel for Judgment and Mercy, the Turbulent Life and Times of the Judge Who Condemned the Rosenbergs, Cornell. And now it's my honor to announce our astonishing winner, whose work is at once heartfelt and urgent, terrifying and illuminating. As one voter put it to me yesterday, it is a miracle that this book even exists. The Leonard goes to Waiting to be Arrested at Night, Tahir Hamad Izgul and Joshua L. Freeman.
Hammalarga bugun mushu mukofotni mening kitobimga loyiq ko'rgan davlatlik kitob obzorchilari jamiyatininki barliq a'zolariga ko'pdan ko'p rahmat aytaman.
I want to thank all of the members of the National Book Critics Circle for recognizing my memoir with this award.
Xitoy hukumatininki Uyg'urlarga qaratgan irqiy qirg'inchilik tasvirlangan bu siyosiy temadagi kitob nashr qilingandan keyin o'qirmanlarninki nihoyat yaxshi bahosiga erishdi. Men buni nihoyat ko'p ta'sirlik inkaslarni topshirib oldim.
Ever since the publication of this book on the political topic of the Chinese government's genocide against the Uyghur people, I have received any number of very moving and gratifying responses from readers.
Bundan nihoyat xushal oldum. Ammo bir shoir ulaşıptım bilan bu kitobninki adabiy qimmatininki bir e'tirof qilishiga erishishni nihoyat orzu qilardim. Bugun bu John Leonard mukofoti bilan bu orzum amalga oshdi.
And while that made me very happy, of course, as a poet, it was always my hope that the literary aspect of my memoir would also be appreciated. And now with this John Leonard Prize, that hope has come to fruition.
Albatta bu mukofotninki oxirgi tizimga kirgan avtorlarni qizg'in tabriklayman. Ham bu 6 parcha kitobninki bir-biridan qelishmaydigan isli kitoblar ekanligiga ishonaman.
And of course, I want to celebrate everybody whose book was a finalist for this award, and I believe that each of them is worthy of the highest recognition.
Bu mukofot bilan men Joshua Freeman'ga, bizning mush kitobni tarjima qilgan Joshua Freeman'ga rahmat aytaman. Penguin nashriyotiga rahmat aytaman va bizga vakolatchilik qilgan Toni vakolatchiligiga ko'pdan ko'p rahmat aytaman.
I want to thank Joshua Freeman, who translated this book. Yeah, thank you. Penguin Press, who published the book, and Cheney Agency, which has represented me throughout.
Bugun bu faoliyatga meningki ailemden ayolim marhaba bilan qizim Asina bilan keldi. Men oxirgi va eng chunqur tashakkurimni ularga bildiraman.
My wife, Marhaba, and my daughter, Asina, are here today as well, and it is to them that I want to express my deepest gratitude.
Ammanlar rahmat.
Thank you to everybody. Is it all right if I say? I just want to say what an honor it was to translate Tahir's memoir. What an honor it's been translating his poetry for all these years now. And I can't wait for his next book. And I also feel I need to say that there are innumerable gifted writers and poets in the Uyghur region whose voices have been silenced in the last few years. And I want to recognize them. And we are so fortunate that Tahir made it out and was able to share his story with us. So thank you to all of you.
Good evening. I'm J. Howard Rozier, Chair of the Criticism Committee and Ombudsman for the NBCC. I'm delighted to announce the winner of our organization's Criticism Award. The finalists are The Chapter by Nicholas Dames, a book that quarrels with accepting chaptering as a matter of course; Creep by Miriam Gerba, a startling book of essays that could easily read as a full-length study; Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, which explores how truth works, or doesn't, in today's political and cultural climate; Pleasure and Efficacy by Grace E. Lavery, a groundbreaking study of gender transition in the modern era, and Deadpan by Tina Post, which reimagines the act of withholding to classify its origins and uses when it intersects with blackness. And the winner is Deadpan by Tina Post.
Oh my gosh, I am a weeper, so this is both so great and also my worst nightmare. Okay, so I don't have too much prepared, but I'll say just a couple words. And the first is that, I began this book as a PhD dissertation, and I started my PhD when my children were 3 and 2, which means that when I say like 1 million people helped this book come into the world, I really, really mean it. And so it's my wonderful editor, Eric Sinner, is here tonight, and he will tell you he made me cut down my acknowledgements. But for really my thanks, please do have a look at the acknowledgements, because there are more people than I could name. But I will say my husband and my children. And then I just wanted to maybe use this chance to tell you about I have an MFA in creative writing, and my advisor, Sherry Simpson, was a wonderful person and writer. She passed away as the book was finishing up, but you would all do so well to read her as well. She's just a marvel. And so, Sherry Simpson, please find her work. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Morgan Frank, and I'm the chair of the Poetry Committee, and it is my honor and pleasure to announce the National Book Critics Circle's Award in Poetry. I was told one sentence. I'm a poet. I don't know what that is, so we're going to celebrate a little bit longer than the criticism sentences. The finalists we are celebrating in this category are Saskia Hamilton's All Souls, Grey Wolf Press, a profoundly affecting auto-elegy that articulates and wrestles with what it is to be caught in the far gone, far alone glance of mortality, the impending premature loss of her life of the mind, of her art, and her life with her young child, as Hamilton wonders if writing can be a form of practice or preparation for death. Kim Hai-soon, Phantom Pain Wings, translated by Don Miche, New Directions, a stunningly original and audacious work in which grief and interventions with patriarchy and war trauma are embodied in a capacious and visceral ventriloquism Kim Hai-soon calls an I do bird sequence. Bird cuts me out, like the way sunlight cuts out shadows, whole enters the spot. Where I was cut out, I exit. Romeo Oriogon, The Gathering of Bastards, University of Nebraska Press, an expansive and beautifully lyrical examination of the haunting spaces of exile that sings of the sea left behind and magnifies the complexities and will of being among the living. Having known that there is no home apart from terror, I lend my voice to our survival. I demand a wild life. Robin Schiff, Information Desk, Penguin Books, an engrossing and masterful epic that spirals from a past working behind the information desk of the Metropolitan Museum of Art into a brilliant, sinuous weaving of memories of coming of age with coming to the middle of life, with the mundanity and magnitude of arts and its histories, its consumptions and its making. And Sharif Shanahan, Trace Evidence, Tin House, an arresting and astounding collection of frank lyrics, bold inquiries and reclamations that, as the poem Wound names, clears what had positioned me in first place, in no place, wondering, is it possible my function is to hold all the intricate interstitial pain and articulate clarity, tie a boat to my wrist, I sprout wings? And the winner of the award in poetry is Kim Hai-soon for Phantom Painwings. Kim Hai-soon is unable to be with us tonight, so her editor, Jeffrey Yang from New Directions, picked up the
Shocking, but thank you so much. Kim Hai-soon and Don Che are sorry they can't be here. But Kim Hai-soon wanted to share these words, which I'll read for her. Phantom Pain Wings is a collection of poems doing I do bird and I do poetry. I do poetry is a kind of mantra. The most important word in this sentence is do. We live now as proper nouns, but when we die, I think will be some kind of adjectives, adverbs, or adverbs that haven't been invented yet. Unlike the world of nouns, there is no master in the world of adjectives and adverbs. There's no subject either. There are no nouns, no pronouns. Therefore, there's no I and you. I think gender is a verb, not a noun. I think it's a mutable construct that's made up as an action. And the place where my father disappeared, an unknown being called Bird was born. Thank you for choosing your other Asian woman as Phantom Pain Wings did. I am grateful to New Directions and to Johannes Granson and Joelle McSweeney of Action Books for making my previous poetry collections possible. This book was written with Don Che. I feel like we are accepting this award together. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Jane Chapatari, and I'm a member of this year's autobiography committee. I'm also NBCC VP of Events and 50th anniversary chair with Jacob Appel. I want to offer gratitude to Mei Lee Chai in San Francisco for her gracious and dedicated work as a committee chair this year. I am delighted to announce the winner in the autobiography category. The finalists in that category are remarkable books, each single one. Susan Ito's I Would Meet You Anywhere, published by Mad Creek Books, an imprint of the Ohio State University Press. A heart-rending and courageous memoir that illuminates the complexities of identity, family, and belonging as Ito, a transracial adoptee raised by Nisei parents, sleuths out the identity of her Japanese-American birth mother, defying laws that keep adoption records sealed. David Matsumoto, Secret Harvest, with artwork by Patricia Wakita, published by Red Hen Press. Secret Harvest limns the compounded tragedy of the Japanese internment for one family when a cognitively disabled member, disabled via the racism of an inadequate medical system, was separated and lost to the family during World War II. The memoir illuminates the hard-won resilience and joys, as well as the darker corners of the author's family history and that of our nation as well. Ahmed Naji's Run Evidence, Reading and Writing in an Egyptian Prison, published by McSweeney's. Naji's eloquent and at times searingly funny memoir of his time spent in an Egyptian prison reveals the importance of literature as a form of self-liberation. Catherine Hall's lively translation captures Naji's distinctive voice by turns intellectual, enraged, and sardonic. Sophia Sinclair, How to Say Babylon, published by Simon & Schuster. In this lyric memoir, we see a shining example of why poets should write prose. The Eden of Sinclair's Jamaican childhood is irrevocably altered under her father's strict Rastafarian upbringing, which first constrains and then threatens her life. Discovering the power of her own voice as a writer sets her free. And Matthew Zapruder's Story of a Poem, published by Unnamed Press. Story of a Poem pursues two questions simultaneously. What makes a poem work, and what makes a life matter? The story is of the creation and revision of several poems, messy developing drafts included, and the equally messy process of understanding a child whose autism diagnosis wrenches the author's first draft of parenthood into a new shape. It is rare to see the competing calls to creativity and care explored so literally and with such urgency and tenderness. And the National Book Critics Circle Award in Autobiography goes to Sophia Sinclair's intricately crafted, courageous, and unforgettable memoir, How to Say Babylon.
I'm gagged. Sorry. Okay. All right, some of you who were at the reading last night might have seen that I had a piece of paper reserved for finalists stuck to the back of my dress when I went up, and thankfully nobody last night said anything. But when I came back to my seat, I was met with a flurry of texts from my mom. Amazing reading, she said. But you have something stuck to your butt. A piece of paper. Check in with me, please. So I made sure I pulled the paper off the seat to make sure it wasn't stuck to my dress this time. One thing about my mom, she's always gonna check in. She's here tonight. She's always gonna check in with me. To make sure I look good and also to keep me humble. I want to say thank you so much, my deepest gratitude to the book critics for this incredible honor and for this light of encouragement. Thank you for your faith in me and this book. I also want to thank my fellow finalists who have been so wonderful and so generous tonight. And we were also told we're the best dressed group. So, I also want to say we all know a book doesn't happen in a vacuum. So I would love to thank my team at Simon & Schuster and 37 Inc. for bringing this book into the world. I'd love to thank John Karp for his enthusiasm and belief in the book, for Stephen Bedford, his wonderful marketing ideas and his openness to all of my crazy marketing ideas. Thank you to Maria Mendez for being the glue that holds this together. Thank you to my copy editor, the sales team, to Jackie Siao in the wonderful art design department. Thanks to Rex Bonamelli for this beautiful cover that mirrors the colors of Jamaica and honors my country, and also gave me a wonderful theme for my tour outfits. Thanks to my publicist, Ann Tate, Pierce, Shanice Bass, Cassandra Perez, who got me to my events on time and made sure there was always someone there to help me with my 4 or 5 suitcases on every tour stop. Huge thanks to Michael Takins and Whitney Peeling at Broadside PR for their belief in this book for years. Since we first met in 2016, they believed in this book. Thank you to my coven of writers, some of whom are here tonight, who quite literally hold my world together when sometimes the weight of this book threatened to break it apart. Nicole Seeley, Rachel Eliza Griffiths, Y2 Moore, Era Matthews, Kinesia Lubrin, thank you. It's a blessing that our paths crossed in this life. Thank you to my backative, as we say in Jamaica. I wouldn't be here without them. My cheering squad, my literary mothers, Dawn Davis, my editor extraordinaire, and my agent, and who I always call my second mom, Janet Silver. Both of you have truly changed my life. Thank you to my partner Mitch, who was the first reader of this book, who gives the best pep talks, for his unwavering belief in my work, for his inspiration and encouragement. Rastafari was born out of the anti-colonial idea of freeing Black people from all downtrodden, from being downtrodden and from oppression or downpression, as Rastas say. As a daughter of Rasta Rebellion, I know that none of us are free until all of us are free. Rastas say fire burn Babylon, which means we wish to see all downpressed people free from the shackles of colonial violence. I pray for an end to the genocide in Gaza, and I wish to see a free Palestine in my lifetime, a free Sudan, a free Haiti, a free Congo. Finally, I'd like to thank my family for your generosity of allowing me to tell our stories, to pull at the red thread of us in my own way. My siblings, Lidge, Ife, and Shari, I call out your names as the first song that entered my throat in this life. Thank you for your permission to pay tribute to you on the page. Without you, I would not be here. To my mom, who saw her sensitive daughter, her heart so porous to the world and me feeling everything, who first handed me my first collection of poems. What you have gifted me in this life is gold. I made this book, and everything I write is for you. Everything gold and green is what you have made. Everything good in me is a reflection of you. For all the women who came before me, unknown and unsung, this is for you. For my nieces, Catalea and Luna, and she who is yet to come, my work, my words, my voice is for you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jacob Appel. I am the chair of the Lifetime Achievement Awards Committee. I am also the NBCC treasurer, which means if any of you are thinking of disinheriting your children, now would be an opportune moment to talk to me. I am going to say the same thing I unfortunately say every year here, which is that although we are celebrating tonight, the NBCC remains committed to individuals, writers, and thinkers who are imprisoned around the world, both in some of the places you've heard of tonight, but also in places that never make the news media, that are off the radar screen. And even though we are celebrating, we should all keep them in our minds, both tonight and every night, until I no longer have to say this. That being said, I have the honor of delivering 2 awards tonight. The first of these awards is the Sandroff Lifetime Award, named after the first president of the NBCC and given since 1982 to a living person, a writer, publisher, critic, editor, agent, or illustrator, among others, who has over time made significant contributions to book culture. This year's winner is legendary American children's and young adult author Judy Blume. Blume, whose widely acclaimed works include such modern classics as Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, and Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, has inspired generations of young readers by tackling the emotional turbulence of girlhood and adolescence with authenticity, candor, and relentless courage. And as her works have generated controversy, she's carried a national reputation as a relentless opponent of censorship and an iconic champion of literary freedom. If you encounter my family, you should tell them that Judy Blume was here tonight. She thanked me in person and hugged me. In reality, she cannot join us this evening, but is going to share with us some of her wisdom in a pre-recorded taping.
Hello, everyone. I wish I could be there with you tonight, but I'm at home in Key West, where I run a bookstore. I cannot thank you enough for this incredible award. It just means so very much to me. And I'm thrilled to know that you're also honoring ALA tonight, because every day I thank them for their tireless work in protecting our intellectual freedoms. Big congrats to all of you who are nominated tonight. I know how hard it is to write a book. This is where I have to thank my parents, because the greatest gift they ever gave to me was the freedom to choose my own books. They never judged what I wanted to read, and they were readers themselves. So their encouragement kept me going. I was free to choose from the shelves, the bookshelves in our own home. I was free to choose from the public library, and I was free to choose on our trips to bookstores. This is interesting to me because my mother was a very anxious person, yet she was never anxious about the books I wanted to read. She celebrated reading. Reading was a good thing in our house. She encouraged me. How I wish that reading could be celebrated in every house, in every school, at every age, because reading and thinking and ideas are always a good thing. Thank you again so very much for this honor. Thank you, National Book Critics Circle. It's hard to say your name and get it right. National Book Critics Circle Award. Thank you. Thank you.
We are called the National Book Critics Circle, incidentally, because 50 years ago we were established as competition for the National Book Awards, and we wanted to troll them. So, that being said, I now have the honor of delivering a second award this evening, and for those of you keeping score, I know I am the only thing standing between some of you and cocktails, so you're halfway there. The Morrison Award, named after NBCC award-winning novelist Toni Morrison, was established in 2022 to honor an institution or organization that has contributed meaningfully over time to book culture. And this year's winner is the American Library Association, the largest organization of its kind on the planet, which for 148 years has labored fearlessly to ensure access to books and information for ordinary Americans. We honor the ALA for its long-standing commitment to equity, including its 20th century campaigns against library segregation and for LGBT plus literature, and its perennial stance as the bulwark against those regressive and illiberal supporters of book bans. At a time when our nation's libraries remain under relentless assault from both political and economic forces, the ALA towers over the literary landscape as a beacon for our most vulnerable voices. And to accept the award, I'd like to present to you ALA President Emily Drabinski.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here tonight with all of you. I am a huge reader in addition to being a librarian. My date tonight is a member of the Inner Sanctum Book Club, the most aggressive book club in the country, and we're just delighted to be learning of all these new titles we're going to take home and read. And I can't wait to have a drink, but mostly I wish I was reading a book. I want to say thank you to the board of the National Book Critics Circle for this extraordinary honor. I accept it on behalf of the American Library Association and its members. This award honors library workers across the country in institutions large and small, in big urban centers like this one, in small rural communities in Alabama, who make the American Library as an institution the bulwark of inclusive democracy that it is. The library is one of the few non-compulsory public institutions that we have. I think there's the park and there's the library. Despite the library's origin in the uplift politics of the progressive era, when tycoons like Andrew Carnegie sought vehicles to civilize the laboring masses, the modern public library remains a preserve of the freedom to choose your own adventure, to choose how you want to learn, to choose what you want to study, to choose how to spend your time. The ALA's vision is driven by the library workforce itself, and it's less a towering beacon than a network, a collective and organized expression of our commitments to the continued existence of public, freely accessible, non-compulsory, non-hierarchical spaces that support the growth and flourishing of democratic communities. Spaces that give us the room and permission, in solidarity or solitude, because sometimes a quiet corner is what you need most, to imagine what community, to imagine what self, and to imagine what country could be. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mandana Shaffa, and I'm chair of the Barrios Book in Translation Prize and a proud board member of the National Book Critics Circle. It is utterly astonishing that I get to be here with you all tonight in a room full of brilliant writers, gorgeous language, and immeasurable magic. As José Saramago once said, the author with his language creates national literature. World literature is produced by translators. We are delighted to present an award that celebrates both the author and the translator, and that brings the world closer and expands our horizons. If there were time enough, there's so much I would share with you about our Barrios Prize finalists and their cultural, linguistic, and topical diversity and impact. But I would rather encourage you to read these books and to support the authors, the translators, and of course the independent publishers who have made them possible. I'd be remiss not to thank our 10 longlist member critics who diligently, generously, and rather incredibly read more than 200 books over nearly 8 months to create a short list of remarkable books in translation, as well as the shortlist member critics who so thoughtfully narrowed the final 6 down to 1. The nominees for the 2023 Barrios Book and Translation Prize are Cold Nights of Childhood by Teze Ozlu, translated from Turkish by Maureen Freely from Transit Books. Happy Stories Mostly by Norman Erickson Pasaribu, translated from Indonesian by Tiffany Tsao from Feminist Press. Owlish by Dorothy Tse, translated from Chinese by Natasha Bruce from Grey Wolf Press. Phantom Pain Wings by Kim Hae-soon, translated from Korean by Don Mi-chae from New Directions. The Last Pomegranate Tree by Bakhtiar Ali, translated from Kurdish by Karim Abdul Rahman from Archipelago Books. And Sakwado and Logledou's Peril by Azo Vogui, translated from the Bétain French by Todd Fretzen from Action Books. And now to the award. Described as a powerfully vivid, disorienting, and bittersweet novel about a young woman's determined embrace of life in all its complexity and confusion, it is a deeply affecting narrative in a lyric translation that will long remain in readers' minds and hearts. I am so honored to present the 2023 Barrios Book and Translation Prize to Cold Nights of Childhood by the late Teze Ozlu, translated by Maureen Freely from Turkish for Transit Books. Congratulations.
This isn't happening. I would like to thank my friends at Transit Books for their beautiful creation of this beautiful novel. I would also like to thank my daughter Pandora, the youngest of 6 and the most mature, for being here this evening. But most of all, I would like to thank the author, Teze Ozlu, for leaving us this book. Since its first publication in 1980, it has inspired 2 generations of Turkish women to step out of their gendered straitjackets and live by their own lights, embracing beauty where they find it. I hope this translation will inspire Anglophone readers just as much for just as long. Teze was herself a translator and an impassioned reader of literature in translation. Kafka, Svevo, and Pavese in particular, Pavese most of all, who was, many of you will know this, the person who brought the great Americans, Steinbeck, Hemingway, Faulkner, Dos Passos, into Italian and transformed Italian literature and went on to transform Teze Ozlu. Without them, Tezer Özlü, and she's written this, she would never have survived. She had a difficult life, and it was literature that kept her alive. In no way did she ever seek to imitate her great masters in her own writing. What she took from them was the courage to forge her own taboo-breaking style. She is, in every way, a child of translation. That she has been honored with this award some 38 years after her death is a great tribute to our patient art. On her behalf, I thank you all. Thank you so much.
Oh, hello. Great to see you all here. Elizabeth Taylor, I'm thrilled to I chaired biography this year, and I'm very honored to talk about the finalists. And I was told I could not make any Oppenheimer jokes, but that movie was based on a biography that was honored here. So I just want to make that. Any finalists should take note. Talk to your agents immediately. Wonderful set of finalists, and in alphabetical order, they are King by Jonathan Eig, from Farrar, Straus, Drew, to recover the civil rights leader from a gray mist of hagiography. Eig builds on more than 200 new interviews, in addition to newly released FBI files and abundance of more materials to reframe and recapture the civil rights leader in all his complexity as an imperfect but extraordinary man. The Life and Times of Hannah Crafts, the true story of the bondwoman's narrative, by Gregg from Echo Press. Hannah Crafts wrote what is believed to be the first novel by a Black woman, but her identity remained a mystery until Asimowitz pieced together bits of evidence from diaries, almanacs, slave inventories, fragments really, to reveal her as the former Hannah Bond, hiding in full sight and writing one of the most powerful, imaginative records we have of slavery. Daughter of the Dragon, Anna May Wong's Rendezvous with American History by Hunter Wang from Live Right. A spot on the life of the beguiling icon, Anna May Wong, recognizable face of old Hollywood. This is Wang's triumphant capstone to an ambitious trilogy. Charlie Chan, Chang and Ang, both NBCC finalists, and now Anna May Wong. And this dramatic account of Wong's ascent and descent illuminates the crucial role played by Asian Americans in the spectacle of modern culture, which was the framing of the entire trilogy. Betty Friedan by Rachel Steyer from Yale University Press. In Betty Friedan, Rachel shows how this trailblazing feminist career trajectory was shaped by her background as a Jewish child growing up in the Midwest. The same determination that led Friedan to become a forceful national leader has also complicated her legacy and but also demonstrated her as a vital instrument of social change. Winnie and Nelson, A Portrait of a Marriage by Johnny Steinberg from Knopf. Johnny Steinberg's deeply insightful Winnie and Nelson penetrates the Mandela's narrative of their union and uncovers the emotional labyrinth that supported it. As the horrors of apartheid transformed the couple and their relationship, they represented radically different approaches to protesting apartheid that speak to struggles for racial justice today. And of these amazing finalists, the winner is Johnny Steinberg's Winnie and Nelson. So,
thank you so much to the National Book Critics Circle. This is unexpected. I need to gather my thoughts. This book was commissioned on behalf of CNOF by Dan Frank, who was extraordinarily excited and thrilled and full of warmth for this book from the moment he commissioned it. And I can't say how much that meant. It got me to wake up every morning and write it. And he was in my head as the first reader throughout the writing process, a very warm and wise presence. And 3 weeks before I was going to give him a draft, he died. And I want to bring his spirit here. I am so very grateful to him, as are many other authors. And the person who did end up editing this book, John Freeman, gave it more time and thought and subtlety and intelligence than any other editor I'd had. And I'm enormously grateful to him. My agent, David Godwin, was an enormous support and help at the beginning. Thank you so much, David. And thank you to my publishers in other parts of the world, Arabella Pike in the UK and Marcella van der Kroek in Holland, and Annie Olivier and Jeremy Borain in South Africa. I need to thank my wonderful husband, who gives me such extraordinary love and support. And finally, I rediscovered my country, South Africa, through writing this book. And more than anything else, I rediscovered its pain, which is very hard to hold on to and remember. And above all, the people who helped me to do that are those who agreed to talk to me about that book. Too many to name here, but I'd like to thank them all collectively. They taught me an enormous lesson and really made the book possible. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I am here to present the penultimate award for nonfiction. My name is Jo Livingston, and I'm the chair of the Nonfiction Committee. I'm delighted to announce a winner in an exceptionally strong year in nonfiction. The nominees this year are We Were Once a Family, A Story of Love, Death, and Child Removal in America by Roxana Asgharian. Farah Straus and Giroux. A meticulous, harrowing, and deeply empathetic investigation into the murder-suicide of 6 children and their adoptive parents. Bottoms Up and the Devil Laughs by Kerry Howley from Knopf. An articulation of the surveilled human condition, the modern security state, and energy drinks. Who Gets Believed When the Truth Isn't Enough by Dina Nayeri from Catapult Books. A heterogeneous study of the stakes, situations, and symbols of personal credibility. Ordinary Notes by Christina Sharp from Farah Straus and Giroux. A luminous accounting of human experience in the contemporary United States that records the creation of its own new literary method. And The Undertow, Scenes from a Slow Civil War by Jeff Charlotte from W.W. Norton. a deeply generous and humane report from across the physically and ideologically disparate subcultures of the United States of America. And the winner is We Were Once a Family, A Story of Love, Death, and Child Removal by Roxana Raskellian.
Wow. Thank you so much to the National Book Critics Circle for this incredible honor. The nominees for this award include some of the writers that I respect the most, and I'm blown away by the company here tonight across the categories. I'd like to first and foremost thank the Davis family, Nathaniel, Dante, Sherry, and Peaches, and Tammy Sherrick for sharing their stories and their lives with me for these years. I'd like to thank my agent, Mackenzie Brady Watson, who has championed the book since its very early stages. I'd like to thank my editor, Alex Starr, as well as Ian Van Wy, Stephen Wheel, Sarah Hakel, and the whole amazing team at FSG for doing a phenomenal job with this book. Really? Also, of course, I need to thank my family, my husband Paul, and my son Rocco for holding me down through everything, and to my bestie Pia Agrawal for being here with me tonight. This book is about what can and does happen when our systems and our government place less value on certain children's lives than on others. Because of that, I want to add to the chorus of people demanding a permanent ceasefire and an end to the inhumane conditions in Gaza. Every child deserves to survive and thrive with their inherent dignity intact. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Varno, and I am chair of the Fiction Committee. And I'm excited to introduce our finalists and announce our winner. The choices for the books we are celebrating tonight are the product of a spectacular amount of reading and impassioned discussions, which are only to be expected for such a massive publishing category. The finalists in fiction are Tremor by Teju Cole, Random House, a revelatory consideration of art and colonialism that breaks new ground in autofiction and builds into an elegiac story of friendship and growing up in Nigeria. North Woods by Daniel Mason, Random House, a bold accordion-like novel woven with beautiful and tragic stories of a house in New England and the people who inhabit it over several centuries. I Am Homeless, If This Is Not My Home, by Lori Moore, Knopf. A heartbreaking and hilarious ghost story about what it means to be human in a world infected by, as Moore puts it, voluntary insanity. Vengeance Is Mine by Marie Ndiaye, translated from the French by Jordan Stump, Knopf. A hypnotic and ingenious narration of a monstrous crime and the lawyer hired for the defense that swerves seamlessly into the lawyer's examination of a troubling event in her childhood. And Blackouts by Justin Torres. Farrar Strassen Giroux. A stunning experiment in fictional biography and erasure that draws on a real-life 1941 collection of anonymous interviews with gay and lesbian people for a triumphant story of desire and reclamation. And the winner is I Am Homeless, This Is Not My Home by Lori Moore.
Well, I just was sitting in the lucky row over there. I don't have I've never won a book award before, so I don't have a speech. I almost brought my program up here to sort of read from that, you know, to let you know that this is almost over with and here's what happened. Actually, I did once win a book award in Ireland, and years ago, decades ago, and they quickly defunded the prize. So thank you so much to the National Book Critics Circle Award and people, and thank you for taking a chance on me. What else do I want to say? I know it's very hard to be a judge. I know it's very hard to be a critic. I know it's very hard to be in a circle. So I'm so very, very grateful to you and all the hard work that you did. And thank you to everyone at Knopf, and thank you to my agent, Melanie Jackson, and Daniel and Justin. I share this with you. I know you're here. We can either rotate this among our households, or we can, I don't know, I'll share it with you. So, okay, thank you very much.
Hello again. I want to thank all of you for joining us here in person tonight. I want to thank everyone who's joining us virtually via our live stream. I want to congratulate all of our finalists and our winners again. I'd like to remind all of you who are in the audience that our bookseller P&T Knitwear is selling all of these books. So please buy these books, take them to the party, get them signed, take your pictures with the authors. We here at the National Book Critics Circle are just thrilled to celebrate all of you. And I can't wait to see you at the party. If you won an award tonight, we'll ask you to meet Beowulf out in the atrium so he can take a picture of the winners together. And the rest of you can exit through the lobby, and then we have students from the new school that will guide you to the party. Thank you again for coming, and have a great night.